In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I would like to welcome 5th year students to this video recorded lecture, which is entitled Design and Assessment and E-Assessment Tasks in EFL Classroom. In this lecture, I'm going to provide the students with a set of several related points regarding the use of assessment and electronic assessment in EFL Classroom, also to set or to achieve the objectives that we have already set prior to this lecture. This lecture will uncover a set of points, among which identifying electronic assessment, providing characteristics of electronic assessment, addressing how to design assessment tasks in EFL Classroom, then identifying online assessment, types of assessment according to Donan 2007, then identifying authentic assessment and its activities, then moving to addressing problem-based learning and its relation with assessment, assessment and grading strategies in problem-based learning, then going over assessment methods and instruments, then identifying e-portfolios, and finally providing some concluding notes. Here we have to consider the fact that assessment has been investigated by many stakeholders and educators in the field of EFL teaching and learning. So we have to consider some of the definitions of scholars regarding its use in EFL Classroom, along with Weber 2012 and Klein 2020. Prior to the words of Weber 2012, assessment refers to activities designed primarily to foster student learning. So here we can say that assessment can be a part of the learning and teaching processes in the EFL Classroom. It has the function of assisting the teacher and the student in following the student progress in the classroom. So assessment in general helps in following the student's development by recognizing the learning issues and monitoring progress. In addition, it is the means of eliciting or gathering information which allows the teacher to make professional acclaim about the student's academic progress. Generally, the effective teaching and learning can only occur if the learner and the teacher and the content are continuously assessed. So we need assessment if the learner, the teacher, and content are gathered. Accordingly, through assessment, teachers usually try to answer the following questions. Teachers usually raise questions like, what do students know? What do they not yet understand? Where are the students struggling? How they are struggling? Why they are struggling? What should the instructor teach next? What should they adjust in future lessons? Which students need an intervention, and which intervention best fits the need? Does retained learning meet distinct and state expectations? Does the learning curriculum have gaps between learning expectations and assessment? These were questions which have been suggested by Klein that teachers might raise prior to using assessment in the classroom. Generally, in the traditional teaching and learning environment, teachers use assessment to check whether the information has been received and understood. It takes place after the end of the learning process and usually provides information which summarizes the teaching and learning processes. Assessment usually does not achieve the outcomes of the learner-centered classroom, as it is not efficient enough because it doesn't contribute to developing students' learning progress. During the early 20th century, traditional methods of assessment have no longer been welcomed and accepted by educators because they found that it is not effective in enhancing the learning process of students. Subsequently, continuous assessment was introduced later, which is considered as a new trend which emphasizes the student's attitudes, the student motivation, and students' knowledge and reflection. Therefore, assessment now is considered as an integral part of the teaching and learning processes rather than managing to portray the student's achievement at the end of the course. So this new trend of continuous assessment, which emphasizes the drawbacks of the summative assessment, can change students' situation from passive learners to active learners, and change the learning situation or the learning environment from teacher-centered environment to learner-centered environment. Occasionally, continuous assessment is authentic because it collects information immediately relevant to the quality of the student's performance. So authentic strategies for assessment are pertinently or become pertinently related to the student's thinking and language skills, their attitudes, their knowledge, their perceptions, their social and cultural values, etc. Now, let's consider designing assessment tasks. Here we didn't identify whether assessment is traditional or electronic, so we have to emphasize on constructive alignment theory of Biggs and Tang 2007 and Bloom's taxonomy 1956. According to the constructive alignment theory by Biggs and Tang 2007, assessment tasks are teaching learning tasks which are designed to ensure that students achieve the intended learning outcome and develop cognitive skills. The learning outcomes here for a task are the criteria against which teachers make judgments about students' learning. And teaching learning tasks and online assignments allow students to practice using information, and the repetitive use of these skills that are spaced in regular intervals makes a difference in the students' learning. So this is what makes students performance differ. Also, well-designed assignments or well-designed tasks provide opportunities for students to self-learn, to rehearse, to practice, and to receive feedback, of course, by using a well-designed assessment. However, when designed poorly, they can be a major hindrance to thinking and learning in students. Indeed, assessment should be able to provide students with feedback on their progress and be able to help them in identifying their readiness to proceed to the next level of the module. Assessment also involves tasks which need to be aligned with learning outcomes and should be designed in such a way that they elicit higher order cognitive skills, develop a consequential basis for test score interpretation and use. Also, assessment tasks are fair and free of bias. They can be generalized and can be transferable, at least across topics within a domain or a given field. Also, assessment tasks ensure the quality of content is consistent with the best current understanding of the field. They also recognize the comprehensiveness or scope of content coverage. Assessment tasks also are high fidelity assessment of critical ability, so they usually enhance cognitive and metacognitive abilities or competencies. Assessment tasks are also practical and cost-effective. They are contextualized and meaningful to students' educational experiences. On the other hand, Bloom's taxonomy can be crucial when designing assessment tasks. So how the levels of Bloom's taxonomy skills work in parallel. As you know that Bloom's taxonomy involves six levels. The first level involves students demonstrating knowledge of a topic through simple recall, which involves knowledge recall. The second level, students exhibit comprehension of a topic. They demonstrate that they understand the information either by explaining or summarizing it for others. Level 3 involves application. The students then demonstrate they can use the information in a variety of contexts. Level 4, students analyze information to uncover its relationship to other pieces of information. The last, or level 5, the students synthesize various pieces of information into a new and coherent whole. Finally, level 6, the students evaluate the validity of the information before them. Now, let's consider online assessment or electronic assessment. E-assessment or online assessment means the use of digital devices to assist in the construction or delivery or reporting of student assessment tasks, grades, or feedback in online instruction. So, online assessment can be undertaken with many devices, such as traditional desktop computers or laptops with communication devices such as smart mobile phones, with digital devices such as iPads, or also through the use of electronic gaming devices. Online assessment can use a multitude of formats, including text, document format, multimedia format such as sound, video, or images. It can also involve complex simulations or games, role play. It can also be undertaken by students in groups or individually, and it can occur with large number of students. Indeed, using online assessment can provide students with the flexibility to easily create assessments for each of the topics, while also allowing students to take the assessments at higher levels and also at their own pace. So, online assessments give students the opportunity to interact and collaborate with their peers during online discussions, also self and peer review, group work, and also providing detailed record or portfolio of learning. Some of the advantages of using online assessments include easy identification of areas of learner misunderstanding and misconceptions. Uh, it involves flexibility that allows students to take a test from anywhere and at any time. Also, they offer new possibilities for interactivity. They provide detailed and immediate feedback. They also facilitate enhanced social interactions. They facilitate the exposition of advanced skills and capacities. They also increase grading accuracy, and they provide repeated opportunities for learners to practice understanding when online quizzes or assignments can be repeated many times. Online assessment also can store and reuse assessments. As online assessment is integrated with the use of technology, the use of technology and computer-based learning has a major role in promoting self-directed learning and increased student autonomy. They can keep the educational system in line with technological development. They can increase information literacy by ensuring that graduate skills are in tune with those of employers, and also they increase productivity and efficiency in higher education specifically. Through computer facilitated learning, students can access technology. They can improve their learning and achieve learning proficiency or efficiency. Technology can be also used to create authentic context for learning. Here we have adopted types of online assessment by Donham 2007. There are plenty of types of assessments, along with peer assessment, self-assessment, performance assessment, traditional assessment, oral-based assessment, etc. So among the types of assessments are traditional assessment submitted online, which involves essays, case studies, article reviews, proposal writing, report writing. Among the tools, there are Lumi NUS files, which are uploaded via student submissions, and it has been tried first at the National University of Singapore. Also, it involves online marking and feedback and exam soft and rubrics. There is automated online assessment, which involves online quizzes, in-video quizzes, assessment of prior knowledge. There is also group assessment online, which involves online presentation. It involves group online projects and role play activities. So among the tools that can be associated with this type are screencast, like using screencast feedback, using Lumion US, National University of Singapore files, YouTube, Google Docs, etc. There is also online interaction, which involves contributions to forums, charts, blogs, wikis, and reading summaries, engaging in collaborative learning and critical reviews. The tools involve blogs, using wikis, using Google Docs, forum, chatting, etc. There is also authentic assessment, which involves scenarios-based learning, laboratory field trip reports, using simulations, using case studies, role play activities, online oral presentations, online debates, etc. There is also invigilated online assessment, which involves mid-semester exams and final exams, which can be, you can say, treated as summative assessment or formative assessment. Among the forms of assessment, there is authentic assessment. So in a learner-centered classroom, also there is self-assessment, which allows students to reflect objectively on their own learning and tasks. As they become more reflective and deal with their work more critically and productively. So students may overcome the controversy of subjective grading and have self-responsibility in their learning process. So this allows them to make independent choices by setting the objectives of their own learning, by choosing the learning strategies and methods, reflecting on their own learning, and learning at their own pace. So in addition, when students are involved in self-assessment, they are better able to work with other students. They can exchange ideas and arguments, they can share feedback and get help when needed. So students can be more involved in cooperative and collaborative work through learning tasks. So through their learning process, students can construct and share meaning with others. They can monitor their own progress, they can evaluate their own learning, etc. There are some types of assessment which can be considered as authentic assessment tasks. Of course, with using technology or ICT tools or information technology. There is self and peer assessment, which is a formative assessment. For example, using interpersonal skills, collaboration, higher order thinking skills. There is a learning contract, which is both formative and summative assessment. It involves the skills regarding self-evaluation, peer evaluation, collaboration, reflection, and metacognition. There is portfolio, which are formative and summative. They involve lifelong learning, self-direction, and metacognition. So students should be exposed to meaningful and active learning by taking a proactive role in questioning, in sharing ideas, applying prior knowledge to new ideas, etc. So they can also be exposed to deep learning and peer learning by emphasizing on transferable skills, which can lead to desired learning outcomes. This means that if independent lifelong learning and critical skills are exposed or to students, so teaching methods must foster such processes and skills. So the type of assessment is very, very important in achieving such learning outcomes. So here we have what we call deep versus surface approach. So prior to this, students' approaches to learning can be either surface level or deep level. A deep learning approach here is consistent with the search for knowledge and understanding, whereas a surface learner is considered or concerned only with passing exams by memorizing facts. So applied to assessment and teaching approaches in higher education, the implication is that the creation of an appropriate learning environment can foster a deep approach. So this can be achieved by enabling learners to take an active role in learning, by initiating, by managing, by monitoring, by reflecting, by evaluating learning tasks. So let's consider project-based learning and assessment. So project-based learning is deeply related to assessment tasks because when we design a project work, we need to design an assessment task. Generally, project-based learning involves the students uh, at the center. So the students are usually at the center of the learning process. The teachers are usually the facilitators. Students usually engage in interaction with peers, with experts, and with other community members. Students become experts during the learning process. Project structure. It can be structured according to certain bases. The project usually aligns to certain standards. It is usually related to 21st century skills. Multiple types of assessments are used to inform students and teachers, such as peer assessment and e-portfolio. So project work also involves tasks and activities over time because usually project-based learning is centered around the task or project work. Project has real-world connections. Usually the students should relate their real-life experiences with what they learn because they usually engage in meaningful and authentic tasks. They demonstrate knowledge and skills through products and performances, means that they learn by doing. They should take an action, they should intervene, they should for example use peer questioning, peer assessment, peer feedback. Of course, technology can enhance project work. That's why technology usually supports such kind of project works. Finally, project work usually involves project grades such as creative process, collaboration, self-direction, problem solving, academic standards, individual versus group grades, etc. Here, engaging in a project work-based assessment is usually related with the use of certain strategies during the project work, which are strategies before project work begins, and then the students usually work on the project and compare the tasks, and after that the students usually use some strategies after the project work is completed. Usually, before the project work starts, students brainstorm ideas. They seek resources, they set certain objectives, they look for goals to attain, and then the students work on the project using anecdotal notes, using project plan, using checklist, journals, collaboration, checklist, using group conferences, using solar oven rubrics, using solar oven rubrics. And after that, after the project work is completed, they use reflections. For example, there are some assessment methods and instruments which can be used during the project work, such as graphic organizers, which include concept maps, timelines, classification charts, sequencing activities, observations and anecdotal notes, including checklists for teachers and students' use. For instance, when using anecdotal notes, teachers usually use them throughout the unit to capture observations about students while they work, and the notes are used to monitor progress, to provide feedback, and to adjust instruction. For using checklists, project plan checklists, the students use this checklist to self-assess their project plan and make adjustments. Also, among the assessment methods, there is what we call written or video or photo journals and logs. So there are what we call journals and logs, which include reflections on learning. So they reflect on what they have learned. It involves predictions and questions to be answered. For example, when using reflections, students reflect throughout the project or unit on what they are learning. At the end of the project, they return to the essential unit questions, and they use their reflections to set new goals. So the teacher then uses their reflections to assess to assess the other students' needs and their growth throughout the project or throughout the unit. There is also student-led conferences. So those conferences, the students or the teacher makes meetings with all groups. It means all project work groups, to make sure they are learning what they need to learn and answer any questions the students may have. Also to assess individual progress at the time. Conferences provide the students with the time to ask questions and clarify information. There is also planning documents and there is rubrics. For instance, using solar oven rubrics, students use the solar rubric to self-assess the project. So the teacher uses the same rubric to assess final presentations. ePortfolio is also an assessment tool which has been already derived from portfolios or traditional portfolio. According to Gibson and Barrett, 2003, ePortfolio as an alternative form of assessment can be viewed within the lens of the past. So ePortfolio has been discussed and investigated by many scholars and stakeholders as an alternative form of assessment which can be viewed within the lens of the past, and because it has already been existent before, just it has been integrated with technology. So ePortfolio are based on the use of traditional portfolios, and they grew out of the teachers and students' ability to assess and to reflect on their own learning. Also, they coincided with multimedia and technology advances, and we can find that some portfolio or some e-portfolio as websites which include databases of students' experiences, which provide flexible and socially networked digital learning evidence. So ePortfolio can enable us to transform the experiences and practices into an integrative digital learning environment for students, and they manage to assess students' learning process in an online learning environment. They can enable students to develop their critical thinking abilities and their problem-solving skills, and can ensure a learner-centered environment for them by being self-directed learners. Based on this self-designed diagram, which represents the process of portfolio development, how portfolios are developed, or what does the process of portfolio involve. Of course, it is based on technology use and multimedia tools, either hypermedia or multimedia tools. So it involves selection, reflection, organization, presentation, and it is we can say it is rooted in the theory of constructivism, in the theory of multiple intelligence, and the theory of cognitivism. So portfolio can be effective in teacher education because it can foster students' reflection and their creative and critical abilities, and they can enable teachers to enhance their professional growth, reflect on their own practice. They can be aware about how it works, and be aware with different perspectives on the meaning of experiences, and enhance their ability to learn from those experiences. So using ePortfolio in the online learning environment also needs technological support for teachers and also for students. Also support for evaluation and assessment, because teachers should be aware about creating ePortfolio in order to design successful assessment tasks for students' learning. At the end of the course, I would like to provide you with some concluding notes regarding the use of assessment, or regarding assessing student learning. So, assessment of student learning is a field which deserves to get attention in the EFL Classroom, and it involves how teachers assess the students' progress both formatively and in a summative way. In effect, teachers' professional development needs to be improved by incorporating a new performance management system. Teachers use portfolio as tools for assessment and evaluation. They use it in different ways and evaluation processes. So They may emphasize more on their professional development and reflective practice than on portfolio effective use. So, teachers should demonstrate a good preference to the use of e-portfolio to develop the attitudes towards them. We can say also that the rapid advances of ICTs and technology have affected the education arena by enhancing its accessibility and flexibility. Also, assessment of students' performance is a relevant part of teaching in online environment. It may result in particular challenges when assessing student learning. Subsequently, the development of e-portfolio in teaching EFL can enable students to learn, to reflect, to explore their ability to gain knowledge, through which students can upload their works to acquire the knowledge and skills online. So, although some may not be aware about the benefits of using e-portfolio, they may believe that more studies are required to ensure validity and reliability for using e-portfolio. Ultimately, multimedia teaching is still constant, and educators need to be familiar with integrating e-portfolio effectively in the teaching and learning processes. So, regarding the use of e-assessment and e-portfolio in learning, the technological support may not be available in all institutions. Although there are teachers who are technologically trained, therefore they have already started developing their own e-portfolio for a long period of time. So they need to have support for planning their lessons. E-assessment has the potential to enable teachers to improve their planning, assessment skills, also their reflective practice. So subsequently, being persistently equipped with the advanced technological devices and tools will provide them with the opportunities to perform better, to save time, and engage in learning interactive practices for their students. Finally, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I hope that this lecture was advantageous for you. Thank you.